All right, okay. All right, we're here at Iron Addicts Nitro in Ringwood, marvelous Melbourne. It's a magnificent Monday afternoon and I am going to be taking you through a push day, focusing primarily on shoulders, chest and triceps. Let's do it.
Call me crazy, but sometimes to see I close my eyes, and I've been in the dark for some time. In the dark for some time.
So first and foremost, I'm going to start off with barbell military press, key compound movement, specifically focusing on the shoulders. The military press is one of 4 key movements which form the foundation of my training program. The squat, the bench press, the deadlift, and the military press, otherwise known as the overhead press. Putting it at the start of my workout, primarily because of the greater central nervous system recruitment required to perform this movement. Very physically taxing after a while. So prior to getting into my working sets, I'm going to progressively increase the loads which I'm lifting through my warm-up sets, and I'll usually do around 2 to 3, 3 to 4 warm-up sets, increasing the loads up towards my first working set. The main reason for this, avoiding injury. The last thing we can afford is an injury, and I think also you're rehearsing the movement pattern. Whenever you perform warm-up sets, don't rush those sort of things. Doesn't matter what the first exercise is, what you're trying to actually do is rehearse the range of motion and the technique which you want to apply during your working set. So treat lightweight like heavyweight. Your focus should be on maintaining a nice neutral spine or torso, nice and strong. Solid foundation through the base with your feet. They should be at shoulder width apart. Chest proud, shoulders back. And what you want to try and do is maintain switching your core muscles on, sucking the belly button into your spine. The worst thing that you can do for a military press is overextension, okay? Overextension through the spine as you press skyward. Now from time to time, I find myself falling into the trap of having that overextension and placing pressure on my spine. How do I alleviate that? Tension through the midsection. The other thing that I would suggest, crush the walnut with your butt cheeks, tighten your glutes. Very important that as you press skyward, you keep everything nice and tight. So I always ensure that as I press skyward, my glutes are activated as well. Keep the elbows in nice and tight, okay? Grip nice and tight here as well, so that you don't place your shoulder in a compromised position. It's a stronger position as well to keep it in tight as opposed to out wide. One other fundamental reason for wanting to perform warm-up sets is when the temperature outside or inside is absolutely freezing. Melbourne is a whole lot colder than Sydney, I can assure you of that. Actually, that's a point. What is the temperature right now? Where do you find that? You can do a Snapchat and then we're about to find out. It's like 15 degrees. But I mean, that's cold. That's cold for me. All right. Next up, barbell incline bench press. Looking to do 8 to 10 reps, 4 sets. Captain America plates. That's not the way it's meant to appear in one of those montage videos. Takes it off. Yeah. When performing barbell or dumbbell press, whether flat or incline, one of the things that I'm consciously trying to do is retract my scapula back to open my chest up and as I press skyward, I'm thinking of bending the bar. And I know that's a weird analogy because usually, and this is something that I used to do in the past, when you press up, especially with dumbbells for instance, you sort of want to rotate your shoulders forward to try and get the weight up. One of the things I would encourage you to do, retract that scapula back, open the chest up, press, and think about bending the bar as you press skyward. This will place all the focus on the pecs. I'm going to move on to alternating dumbbell curls. Okay, I might move on to dumbbell chest press. The thing I find about dumbbell press is that you have this opportunity to take your pecs through a greater range of motion than you would if you were doing a barbell press. Yet I still see some people, when they perform a dumbbell press, they only go down halfway, partial reps, but not even partial reps all the way down to the pec, and then, you know, they're coming down and then limiting their range of motion just so that they can lift heavier weights. Now, I appreciate the desire to want to impress their friends or to lift exorbitantly large weights, but you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't take the muscle through the full range of motion. Check your ego at the door and use a weight that's appropriate for the rep scheme that you're using and for the exercise that you're performing. Feels good. There's good energy in the gym. So the reason for my visit down to Melbourne this weekend is because I was here for a fitness seminar which was hosted by JPS Health and Fitness, where they invited the team from 3D Muscle Journey to Melbourne to speak on evidence-based training protocols and diet protocols for physique athletes and powerlifters. Now, one of the coaches there, Alberto Nunez, one of the key things that we discussed in his workshop yesterday was the proper form and technique to really target the lateral head here of the deltoid, that middle head. And it was actually really interesting listening to him in terms of the technique that he utilizes in order to hit that very, very small muscle. I'll demonstrate now. There's a limited range of motion in what he goes through, but with the sole purpose to get as much blood rushing into that target muscle. Bending the hips. Now, one of the things you would have noticed there is that my range of motion was limited, and the main reason for that was to ensure that there was constant tension on that lateral head at all times. Now, I'm used to coming all the way down and probably allowing the stress on that head to come off, and you can be prone to swinging. It's such a small muscle as well that you don't necessarily need to go heavy. Higher rep schemes are probably more appropriate. And to be perfectly honest, this is one exercise which I find that I constantly need to focus on and not get too caught up in the weights that I'm lifting. Progressive overload can occur through higher volume, more sets, more reps, as opposed to increasing the weight. It's going to take constant repetition to ingrain this new technique. Breaking at the hips slightly, bending over so that the tension is placed here, and the lateral head, the middle head here, as opposed to the anterior head, which already gets enough stress whenever I'm performing a military press, a dumbbell chest press. I'm not interested in bringing that up. I want to bring up this head and then also the rear head to create the illusion that I'm larger than I actually am. If you can accentuate that lateral head, it'll change the shape of your physique. Because what you're looking to create is that V-taper. And the best way you can create that V-taper is obviously prioritizing your lat development, but also getting that muscle, applying volume to it. 8, 9, size like dumbbell lateral raises. Whilst it might be easy to add excessive amounts of weight and flap each rep up with momentum, if you want to progressively overload but not necessarily increase the weight, you can introduce paused reps. Okay, higher rep schemes, more sets. Don't just get fixated on this notion that you need to always increase the load, because if you're not actually getting tension on that target muscle, you're not actually going to be able to elicit hypertrophy.
So how much are you lifting now?
6 kilos. It burns, especially when I'm aiming for 20 reps. By the first couple of reps are easy. It's reps 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, which I'm really trying to focus on keeping that tension at all times. By removing the handle, I get to dictate how my hand is positioned as I perform each raise.
So much.
What was your name again, sorry?
Kyle.
Kyle. Yeah.
Yeah, when you like said something to me, I was like trying not to like freak out. I was like,
Is that recorded? So Kyle, I just saw Kyle then, just as I was warming up prior to starting my session. Kyle was going through Olympic lifting in my peripheral, and I have to admit that whilst I do like bodybuilding and powerlifting, I can't help but admire anyone who does Olympic lifting. What were you doing over there? Snatches?
I was doing snatches. Yeah.
You were doing snatches, and just how fast and explosive he was off the ground. At my gym, Macquarie Uni gym, there's a lot of guys that do Olympic lifting, and I just couldn't help but admire just how fast it was off the ground. And it takes, honestly, I do not have the coordination, I don't have the central nervous system recruitment, and I certainly don't have the fast twitch to do that. So well done. It looks fantastic. Do you compete?
No, but next, because I haven't been doing it that long. I've been lifting a while.
Yeah.
But I haven't been doing it that long. So
Yeah.
hopefully I'm looking at Oz champ.
Hold on. The guy says he hasn't been doing it that long. How long have you been doing
I've
it?
only been doing Olympic lifting for 6 months.
6 months, really?
Yeah.
You had to have seen him. Just how fast it was off the ground. Well done.
Thank you.
Killing it. Cheers. So we've done chest, shoulders. Next focus, dips for triceps. Key difference between performing chest dips and tricep dips is you want to keep your elbows in nice and tight. Keep your elbows and arms parallel so that the focus is solely on the triceps and not focusing too much on the chest. So you want to go through a full range of motion that you're most comfortable with, coming to 90 degrees ideally, trying to narrow the elbows in towards one another. If you flare them out, greater focus on the pecs. One thing that I am conscious of is that performing dips may be difficult for those that have impingement with their shoulders. If you've got shoulder issues and dips could potentially exacerbate a previous injury, don't do dips. Focus on another tricep exercise. In fact, we'll move on to a safer alternative for you. Come with me. Final exercise for my program today is tricep cable extensions or pushdowns. Using a rope attachment allows me to take the tricep through a greater range of motion. I've done dips where I can potentially lift heavier loads with a weight belt. And then towards the latter end of my session, I'll use the tricep cable extension with higher rep schemes. So I'm aiming for 12 to 15 repetitions with this particular exercise. Those that were suffering with shoulder impingement issues and couldn't do the tricep dips, this is a great exercise to focus on the triceps without potentially causing a further injury to your shoulder. Locking those elbows in by your side, and the focus should be that the forearm is the only thing that moves. What we don't want it to turn into is a lat movement or a lat pull down, straight arm pull down. It's a cable, tricep cable extension, tricep, forearm should be the only thing that moves. The elbow should act as a hinge as you extend, squeeze. Now what I meant by the rope allows for a greater range of motion If I was to use a straight bar, I wouldn't be able to, notice my hand is able to come down further. I wouldn't be able to do that with a straight bar. I'd probably be able to lift heavier loads with a straight bar attachment, lighter weight, but I'm able to get a greater squeeze and range of motion. Now, whilst I appreciate that the key focus for today was meant to be chest, shoulders, and triceps, prioritize your weaknesses accordingly. 3 times a week, calves. They are a key weak point that I want to work on, that I want to accentuate. One of the reasons for that is, theoretically, from an aesthetic point of view, your calves should be the same size as your arms. So my calves, I need to play some catch up. Stretching all the way down to the point where the heel nearly touches the ground, stretching that calf out, squeezing up, and then consciously contracting at the top of the movement. All right, guys, done and dusted. Feeling pumped, really good session, and it's always lovely. Lovely is the key word. Actually, lovely, nice. Nice, great. It's always great to come down here to Melbourne, and this gym especially. Iron Addicts Nitro it's built for bodybuilding. Mind you, we did see some Olympic lifting, but with the murals on the wall, the hammer strength plate loaded equipment, and the Captain America plates, the vibe, the atmosphere, the energy in this facility it's first class. So it's always well worth a visit when I'm down here in Melbourne. But back up to Sydney later tonight.